President Trump and Elon Musk are currently showing you how to destroy a housing market. Now, in this case, we happen to be talking about Washington, D.C. proper. We're going to talk about what is real, what is not. We're going to talk about what is coming and what could potentially be amazing opportunities. Beth, when I see what's going on in Washington, D.C. housing, I think there's a lot of fake news, a lot of just manipulated posts, but I do think Washington, D.C. is in for a lot of pain over the next 12 months. What are you seeing?
I agree. Yes, my social media feed has been blowing up over the past couple of days from a lot of my friends in the agent community in the greater DC area talking about basically defending their market, which of course that's going to happen. But they're saying that there's been some posts out there that are probably manipulated, showing an avalanche of new listings in the market. And they're showing this is the map from our MLS. Like, it's not actually there yet. Inventory is still low. That said, I don't think that you can have that scale of layoffs in that area from the federal government and not have it impact the market. Yeah. But the market is slow to react. If somebody got their layoff notice last week, for example, they're not going to be listing their house today. It's going to be usually a couple of months before people get their house on the market. They have to decide where they're going. They have to decide what the plan is. They have to prepare their home for sale and then list it. So I think it's something that we might see grow over time. And I'm not seeing it today, but it's definitely something to watch, because I think that there could be some opportunities there. If people are looking to relocate in large scale, the question is, who are the buyers? What's going to happen to the demand there? Because if people aren't moving there for federal jobs and the demand is not there, that's where we start to see the prices decrease, because it's the demand that really drives the prices.
Yeah, DC is undoubtedly going to have a price correction, double digits for sure, but not quickly, to your point. And it's really funny. We actually have historical precedents. I've been studying housing for the better part of 30 years. You can go back and look at San Diego when the military pulled out, what happened there. You can go back to the oil bust in Texas, watch what happened there. This is going to be a regional catastrophe. But to your point, not today. It will slowly build over weeks, months, quarters, and maybe even years. To your point, I saw a lot of posts on X that actually got community notes talking about this was a digitally altered photo, which is just terrible that somebody would go out there.
Yeah, with who and why? Who knows why people do the things that they do? It's like, keep it factual, folks. But
yeah, but when you really think about destroying a market, and again, I think Washington, D.C. is set up to ultimately be destroyed when we look back on it in 2 years. It's a two-step function. First, you have to raise supply and raise supply relatively quickly, but that's only half the equation. The other half is you have to crush the spirit of demand, right? If you are a federal worker and you have not gotten a layoff notice as of yet, you are probably afraid you will get a layoff notice. So you are not looking to plant roots in Washington, D.C. for the foreseeable future. So not only are we eventually going to see supply rise, but to your point, demand turns off like quick. I bet you see days on market in Washington, D.C. double in the next 90 days, because it's not only supply that will grow, but demand turns off quickly.
Fear is a huge force in the market. If people are scared, they don't make big decisions. And it's more, fear of loss is a greater motivator than potential gain. So if people are scared, they're not going to be wanting to buy houses in DC, and it's going to be really interesting. It reminds me back, this is even before my time. Well, I was too young to be aware of it, but in the Seattle area, there was a famous billboard that said, "Will the last person leaving Seattle turn out the lights?"
Yeah.
And it was a couple of real estate guys put that up there, here it is, like 50 years later, whatever it was, like, we're still talking about it, but like brilliant, really. But in that case, it was, what was it? Boeing layoffs. Yeah. Boeing layoffs happened at a big scale. And at that time that Boeing was, we were a company town for Boeing, and grand mansions right in the middle of Seattle were selling for like peanuts, pennies. Like, nobody would take them. Nobody wanted them. So, I was only just a little kid at the time, but
this is like, again, we have historical precedents. Washington, D.C. having, 200,000 folks or whatever the number ends up, will decimate DC, but it's not large enough to destroy the country. That's why Texas was hurt in the oil shock. San Diego was hurt when the military pulled out. This will undoubtedly hurt DC. You have your example of the billboard. We can have local crashes and they could be nasty and severe, but it's always two steps. And I think what a lot of people are missing is demand gets turned off first. Supply comes later, and then it builds, the momentum builds on itself, and it gets worse and worse. To your point, the great financial crisis, my market of Fresno, California, a house I talk about all the time, went from 300 to 75 over 3.5 years. It wasn't a minute.
No.
It takes time. It takes years.
If you think about how sellers think, like they might say, my neighbor's house sold for, we'll talk DC prices for 1.3. It's one of the higher priced markets in the US too, by the way. So, my neighbor's house sold for 1.3. I'm going to list my house for about that price. And then, a month goes by with nothing happening. But over time, the prices will start to come down and some will sell and reset the bar. But it's a slow process. It takes a long time to unwind.
Yeah, but I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity if you happen to be a landlord or investor or wanting a home in DC. But again, it's not going to be quick. A lot of people, like I've already talked to a bunch of people this morning via direct messages saying, is it time to buy in DC? I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you guys talking about? We're like a year away from finding true motivation.
Patience, my friends, like there will be opportunity there. And eventually it will come back. Like for example, all these markets we talked about, like they did come back. It took time and patience. So as far as looking for buying, making the disrespectful offers, getting offers accepted, making good purchases, there will be opportunity for that. But you got to be ready to hold it for a long time too, because if the rental demand goes down too, if there aren't as many renters, like you got to think about all that. Like I'd be more conservative in your underwriting on what you can expect market rents to be, because that's probably going to be impacted as well. And so
no question.
Keep and be ready to hold for the long term. Be conservative. Make sure you've got your cash flow and that you can just ride it out. Because you have good cash flow, you can hold for indefinitely.
Yeah, I think there's a plenty of opportunity coming. But when I look at what's transpired, what I've learned about Texas and San Diego is minimum we're 6 months away from some, must sell. Because again, a lot of people that are being laid off, as I understand it, are still being paid for 8 months. There is very little financial stress if your paycheck is still showing up for 8 months, but it'll eventually get there. And it does feel like a certainty that Washington D.C. housing will fall double digits, but it's not tomorrow. It's not even February, right? It's maybe October, November, December.
Yeah, or maybe even this time next year. Maybe I'm just thinking more long term, and I don't know that there's going to be a wave of foreclosures, because that takes a real long time to happen. A lot of these people have a lot of equity and good reserve. They're wealthy people more or less. And so I don't know that we're going to see a giant wave of foreclosures. And if we did, that would be years down the line.
Oh, that would be at least 2 years.
Yeah. So people that are expecting that, like it may or may not happen. There might be some uptick, but it would be, I don't know. I don't see a big foreclosure surge coming, but I do think you will start to see motivated sellers, because if a lot of those sellers end up getting other employment somewhere else, maybe out of state or out of the area, they're going to need to sell one way or another. And eventually they're going to need to accept whatever the reality is of their market. So,
if somebody is watching this and you happen to be a Washington, D.C. agent, or Beth, if you know someone there, the metrics that I would love to get is how many cancellations have you seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks? Because I'm going to guess it's higher than not. Because again, the story that people on X are trying to do with those fake pictures is show supply. But again, you're looking in the right place. Supply takes time. Demand is instant. Like if you are in contract and you got a layoff notice, you're canceling.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing I would be interested in is how many offers you're getting. I'm guessing a month ago you were getting, I'm going to pick a number, 20 a week. Now you're going to get 8. This is a demand. The immediacy of this is demand. The supply will come, but that is months from now. And the people on X are doing you a disservice by, manipulating pictures. It's disgusting.
Yeah. And agents, of course, are going to be quick to defend their market too. That's their role, so, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do start to see some shift in that activity. That's what you'll see. All of a sudden showings will decrease. open house activity lower. It takes a little longer for homes to go under contract, more cancellations, like you mentioned. Those are the first indicators that we'll see, or houses that we're expecting offer. I don't know if they do offer reviews there, but here it'd be like offers reviewed on Tuesday, and then like Wednesday it's still on the market. It's like we start to see that, everything's not selling in 5 days or less. It's taking longer. It doesn't take long for buyers to quickly switch that psychology and go from like all in to, I don't know, I'm going to be cautious here and take my time and, be really, really thoughtful about this. And I bet we're probably starting to see that already. And
no question.
I just don't know how there
first.
can't be with this psychology of fear going on. I don't see how that can't impact people's buying behavior in that market. There's no way it's not making an impact.
Yeah, demand is instant. It's already being felt. If we had a DC agent out there, I bet they would tell us cancellations have tripled, maybe even quadrupled. New offers are probably already falling off. But actually, I want to step back and remind you about something Graham Stephan said at the ORAD event a couple of days ago. I don't know if you remember this, but Graham Stephan was talking about one of his billionaire friends. Might have been millionaires, but it sounds better to say billionaires. One of his rich friends starting to buy office hand over fist in San Francisco.
I do remember that, and I thought that was very interesting.
Again, there is a time where people come in and they buy it so cheap that they can just hold and then print billions. You can go back on my channel. I did a video, I think 3 years ago, that got like 100,000 views talking about the collapse of San Francisco. But at the end of that, I said, and I believe, there will be billionaires made by buying San Francisco real estate at the bottom. And according to Graham Stephan, that's already happening. I bring this up in this conversation because it will happen in DC as well. Just like your experience in Seattle with that billboard saying, with the last person.
Absolutely.
Turn out. There will be people that buy gorgeous DC proper homes for probably 60 cents, maybe 50 cents on the dollar. If you have a motivated seller that maybe owns it free and clear, maybe get some seller financing. The deals are coming, just not tomorrow.
Right. And if you can be a contrarian and think ahead, you can get like whoever's buying the San Francisco office space. What a brilliant move that is, because it's going to come back.
Yeah, you just
how can it not? And then even the Seattle example of turn off the lights. These gorgeous timber barren mansions up in the center of the city that people were buying for like $5,000 or whatever. Like now they're worth $4 million or something. It's like somebody bought that and whoever was buying those made a fortune. But you do have to have the cash now, and you have to be ready to ride it out. So you have to be, again, conservative in your numbers to make sure you can carry it and hold long term, because sometimes these cycles take years to play out. So
yeah, folks, at the end of the day, here's my action items to you. If you happen to be shopping in DC, AKA get a buy box, you should have had that already. But start watching that buy box, because I imagine you will start to see a couple of things. You will start to see pendings come back on the market. That is a sign that the buyer got scared. You will start to see more listings slowly but surely, but days on market will grow. At some point, you're going to find days on market averages, call it 45 days. Then your job is to write disrespectful offers on anything that's 60 days or longer. Use it to your advantage. Don't write disrespectful offers on first day listings. That's a waste of your time. It's a waste of their time. Do the work, do the work, do the work. Opportunities are coming probably in the second half of the year, possibly all the way out until next year. But it does feel like you have crushed demand, and supply is only going to go up from here because of all the layoffs. Beth, closing thoughts and where they can find you?
Yeah, so interesting to watch. I'm reaching out to my connections in the DC area. Maybe we can make a connection there. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the boots on the ground are, what that insight is, because there's what we see on social media and the catchy things, which I just want to know, because what happens on the ground happens before it ever makes the headlines. It's like you get the stories in the streets, so to speak, of what's going on up there right now in real time. I'm really curious to see what that is. But again, those of you who are watching that area, I think there definitely will be some motivated sellers and some opportunities to really secure some great assets to have some great profits from long term. So it'll be interesting.
And to your earlier point, if you are doing a buy box and yield calculations, I suggest, as Beth said, bring down your expected rent a little bit. I'm going to guess it's even tougher to rent, and your rents will be a little soft as well. So don't get
right. You have to be willing to ride out a little bit of vacancy potentially if you need to. All of it.
Yep.
So just be
All
more,
of it.
all your numbers, just ratchet them back a little bit, just to be a little more safe about it. We don't want people being reckless out there.
Amen. Do the work, do the work, do the work. It's going to take time and momentum.
Mhm.
Folks, at the end of the day, if you want to buy or sell in King County, aka Seattle, you can reach out to Beth. Or better yet, if you want a referral to a top 1% agent, BethTraversogroup.com, or just go to
Absolutely.
school. She is in
Yeah.
there. Thanks,
All
Beth.
right. Thank you.